A life-saving tip everyone should know: if a service dog comes up to you, follow them. Service dogs will only leave their owners as a last-ditch effort for help. If you are alone and start choking, you can use the back of a chair or sofa to perform the Heimlich maneuver on yourself. Source: had to do it to myself when I was about 15. If you're ever feeling lightheaded and seeing stars, and just a general feeling of thinking you're going to pass out, lay on your back and put your legs in the air and take deep breaths in and out. The blood from your brain rush down to your feet, and doing this will rush it back to your head. Pick up the phone and call someone if you know they're going through a rough time. Learn how to stay calm, breathe and assess situations. This will help in so many future surprise situations. Be aware of your surroundings, exits, bathrooms, and where medical fire kits, where landline phones are if they are around. If you think you're being followed, turn right 4 times. Since you'll get to the same place, they shouldn't be following you anymore. If they do, you might be in trouble. Since it's a common warning that you shouldn't go home when you think someone is following you, the smartest is to go to a police station. If you get stabbed, do everything in your power to keep the knife in. The knife is acting as a makeshift seal, and it's the only thing keeping you from bleeding out. Keep it in and get to a hospital immediately. Never let an attacker take you to a secondary location. A person who is drowning doesn't look like people drowning on TV. When someone is drowning, they rarely cry out, can't wave their arms around, and will often just bob sink at the surface for a very little while, often gasping, before submerging. Don't expect it to look like the movies when you're keeping an eye on swimmers. What makes you sad always? Growing up and watching your parents get old. Like WTF, I'm the one that's supposed to be growing up. You're meant to stay the same. Seeing someone disappointed in me. It's the same look in their eyes. Sometimes I get really excited when I'm telling someone about a subject I love, when my brain suddenly gives me this irrationally strong feeling that I'm just annoying the other person by talking at all. Then I usually just go quiet and don't want to talk or be around that person anymore. I just want to disappear, because my brain is a bully. That there will be a time I pet my dog for the last time. Males of Reddit: what are some guy tips you think every man should know? Don't underestimate the power of smelling good. It's easier to stay in shape than to get in shape. Learn this the hard way as I am slowly starting to work out again. Spray the cologne directly onto your skin, before putting on your shirt. Less is more. You want people to smell you when they hug you, not when you enter a room. Look at this guy over here getting hugs. Take it slower, enjoy it more. Works for most things in life, and for life in general. Brush your teeth every day. Use mouthwash. People won't tell you that you smell like a goat. They will tell others. Lick your hand. Count to 20. Smell your hand. That's what everyone else smells when you exhale. The woman serving you at the shop is smiling at you because she's been told to smile at customers. She's not hitting on you. What do you think the meaning of life is? Existing. I don't know. It's something I've been thinking about a lot lately. I used to believe the purpose of life, or maybe my purpose in life, was doing and inspiring good in others. Like being kind just to be nice to someone. Because you never know what someone is going through. Being anonymously generous, hugging anyone who wants one, even strangers. Stuff like that. These days, I'm tired of it. I could only pour for so long before my cup was emptied. Now I'm wondering if all altruism is inherently selfish. That you go good things not to be good, but to convince yourself that you are. So I've been wondering if there's any real good in this world at all, and if there isn't, then what's the point of it all? I thought a lot about natural ecosystems and the cycle of life. We admire nature and natural beauty so much, but there's no higher purpose to any of it. And maybe that's the point. There are jaguars who will never be seen by humans, I hope. There are wild, beautiful creatures who will never impact anything outside their natural habitats. They teach us nothing, produce nothing. They do nothing but exist. They are born, they eat, and die, whether they are eaten or die of disease or old age. There is no purpose to their life other than to live. Their contribution to the circle of life is not why they exist, rather, it seems the circle of life supports every big and little creature's ability to exist within the system. So the meaning of life is not necessarily to be productive in the capitalist sense, or to make things better or gain something from the world. Rather, life is beautiful because it is there. We exist, and that is enough. What's the easiest way to ruin your life in your opinion? Fixing your marriage by having a baby. Picking the wrong partner. Drug addiction. I'll take another approach. Car accident. Everything else people are talking about here requires you to go out of your way to make a tempting yet risky choice. Driving is hard to avoid, Nobody can do it all the time without making a mistake once in a while. Make it at the wrong time and you're dead/crippled, for something you spent so much energy trying to avoid. Hating yourself. Join the wrong friend group at a young age. It's often one of the main causes for the other ones starting: drugs, crime, teen pregnancy act, and can ruin entire morals. Attempting suicide by shotgun to the head, but the blast only takes your face off and you live. An eating disorder will do it pretty damn quick. Allowing yourself to think that your life is ruined. What is a safety tip everyone should know about? In these cold times, don't drive wearing anything you couldn't walk a half mile in. Never mix cleaning products. A falling knife has no handle. Never ever sneak up behind a horse, ever. Sharp knives are usually safer to use. If you're wondering if maybe you should be wearing safety gear, glasses, helmet, gloves, hard hat, the answer is always yes. When you cut wood or metal, the chips fly faster than you are able to blink. If everybody else is staying on the beach, don't go running into the ocean. They might all be staying on the beach for a reason, like jellyfish. I learned the hard way so you don't have to. What is one piece of advice you wish you had when you were younger? Practice talking to people and being with people. Social skills can be learned like any other skill. It just takes patience and practice. Success greets you in private and failure slaps you in public. Don't spend so much time thinking about what other people think of you. They care more about themselves than you. Spend more time discovering yourself and accepting who you are instead of wasting time doing things to get their approval. And when you thought that, whatever drama, comment, snarky remark, etc. was about you, it wasn't really about you, it was about them. I wish I'd known earlier that I would be happier if I stopped needlessly judging people. Being an adult is about running into problems and in one way or another overcoming all of them. No putting off or discarding the ones you don't like. They're your problems and you have to deal with and resolve them. Value the people in your life, don't take them for granted. What is a mind trick you know of? If you ask a question and receive only a partial answer, respond with polite silence. Simply wait. A more complete answer will usually follow. If you're trying to find something, try looking right to left as opposed to left to right. Your eyes tend to skim over things if you search in the direction you are used to reading in, so skim the opposite way. It takes me a bit more effort to do this, but I notice more details. When trying to get away with something sketchy, not illegal per se, but frowned upon, walk into the place like you own it. Don't glance around. Don't even stop for a second or look confused. 9 times out of 10 nobody will question you. You can get away with lots of things that way. During a job interview, you want to keep eye contact with the person you're talking to. It makes you seem more alert and confident. Here's the trick. Every 5 or 10 seconds switch the eye you're looking at. It's such a small motion that the other person can't see it, but it makes your eyes look like they're sparkling, which makes you look very interested in what the other person is saying. Probably works for dating too. Go up to someone in a restaurant and tell them to close their eyes and picture a playing card. While they are doing this, eat as much of their food as you can and run away. What secret codes are all around us that only people in the know recognize? When I worked at a supermarket many years ago, we had code 12, which was called on the speakers if they saw a very attractive person in the store. The code would also say where, so, for example, code 12 bread. 437737 means herpes in online dating. I saw a profile of a girl saying she has 437,737 cats and thought, I'm sure that number has some significance. Apparently if a person puts that number in their profile, it means they have herpes and they want to let people know without getting embarrassed. The Jeep wave. I rode in a Jeep for the first time a few weeks ago and got waved at a few times before I asked what was going on. When dealing with the Japanese, that will be very difficult means no. In Indonesia, whenever you're dealing with anyone working in the government, police officers, custom officers, airport security, etc., when they start talking about how strict the rules are or how they need to meet some sort of quota, that means they're expecting a big bribe. I tend to play dumb and go, oh, okay then, I guess I'll just have to throw this thing out, go to court, not bother getting this document. It's fun watching them panic and try to find a subtle way of asking for a bribe without saying they want a bribe. When you're on a Windows computer, Alt F4 will unlock the extra core, letting your computer run way faster. What is the most effective psychological trick you use? I work in an office. When people stop by my desk and refuse to leave me alone, I will get up and refill my water bottle while they are talking to me. Instead of walking back to my desk, I walk them to theirs. They instinctively will sit down. Then I just sever the convo and get back to work. My youngest, 4, got into the why phase a little while back. Read an article that said the best way to get them to stop was to ask them, I'm not sure. What do you think? It is a godsend. They answer their own question. You provide some feedback, sounds good to me. And they immediately move on. Effing awesome. To avoid workplace drama and be well liked is to just compliment people behind their back. In an argument, find something to agree on and push your main point. When somebody shy is speaking, if you look at them and nod your head, it encourages them to keep talking. Instead of asking do you have any questions, I ask what questions do you have? The first almost always results in silence, and the second lets people feel comfortable to ask questions. What is some really good advice? Never make permanent choices when in a highly emotional state. Focus on your own mental health. Keep moving forward no matter the pace. Take one class at a time in school. Eat just one vegetable a day if that's all you can manage. Read one page of a book every day. Put $1 in your savings every paycheck if that's all you have. It's the habits that create the change. Over the decades these small steps will be meaningful and you'll slowly develop the habits you want. Always talk about someone as if they were in earshot. When sending emails, especially sensitive or private ones, enter in their email address last. Whenever possible, choose kindness. People who are 40 plus and happy with their life. What is your advice to people in their 20s? I am 40 years old and I have 3 pieces of advice for anyone in their 20s. 1. Accept that perfection doesn't exist. Your relationships will have problems. Your car will break down. Someone else will anyways have a better phone, a newer car, or a bigger house than you. No matter where on the social ladder you stand, constantly chasing perfection will keep you permanently stressed. That doesn't mean you should not try to better your life. Just know that if you expect perfection you will never be satisfied. 2. Pay attention to your diet and health. I have been working out at least 4 times per week since my mid-20s. I am fitter, healthier and look younger than almost everyone else my age. 3. Don't stop doing the things you love. Even though I have a wife, kids, job etc. I still make time to play video games, draw, write stories, read comics, play basketball, listen to music, etc. There is no reason to become a miserable old beastard. Everything you get becomes something you have. Learn how to be happy having things instead of getting them. People with street smarts. What is your most street tip? Trust your gut. You see people acting normally your whole life. You know what it looks like. If you see something that makes you uncomfortable, there's a reason, even if you don't know what it is yet. Never talk money on public transportation, and never count money in a parking lot. Look both ways crossing a one-way street. There may always be one idiot. Act like you're in a hurry unless people will want to bother you. If you're in an argument with somebody and they get in your face and then look away, there's a good chance they're about to try and knock your head off. You don't owe anybody anything, including conversation. People who want to take advantage of you will usually start by initiating unsolicited conversation. What was the very first psychological trick you learned that blew your mind? Stop talking. If you want to get more information out of someone, just let them speak. There are times in a conversation that things stop. Most people want to fill this themselves, but don't. Let the other person do it. This is especially useful if you think the person in their story is full of SHT. If you ask someone to move over to an arbitrary different location to talk, could be 5 feet away, they are much more likely to listen to you and follow instructions. One of my tricks as an elementary school teacher. You can give a person talking on their phone an object and they will most likely take it because they are focused on the call. I regularly hand people empty plates. Most of the time they just keep talking and don't notice what I'm doing. When walking through a crowd, don't look at the people in front of you. Instead look past them where you are trying to go and most people will make room without noticing it. If you want people to like you, ask them for small favors they can easily do for you. Everyone likes to feel useful even if they don't realize it. What's a quote that permanently changed the way you look at things? Use what talents you possess. The woods will be very silent if no birds sang there except those that sang best. Henry Van Dyke. There's a Buddhist quote, don't believe everything you think. People don't think about you as much as you imagine they do. The pain I feel now is the happiness I had before. That's the deal. C.S. Lewis. You might be the sweetest peach on the tree, but some people just don't like peaches. This helped me get over my lifelong desire to be liked by everyone and allowed me to focus on becoming someone I actually liked. Socializing is just like any skill. You need to practice before you're good at it. My mom, comforting me when I was struggling to make friends. Graveyards are full of irreplaceable people. That quote helped me stop going down the path of working myself to death because my job needs me. What was the very first psychological trick you learned that blew your mind? Stop talking. If you want to get more information out of someone, just let them speak. There are times in a conversation that things stop. Most people want to fill this themselves, but don't. Let the other person do it. This is especially useful if you think the person in their story is full of SHT. If you ask someone to move over to an arbitrary different location to talk, could be 5 feet away, they are much more likely to listen to you and follow instructions. One of my tricks as an elementary school teacher. You can give a person talking on their phone an object and they will most likely take it because they are focused on the call. I regularly hand people empty plates. Most of the time they just keep talking and don't notice what I'm doing. When walking through a crowd, don't look at the people in front of you. Instead look past them where you are trying to go and most people will make room without noticing it. If you want people to like you, ask them for small favors they can easily do for you. Everyone likes to feel useful even if they don't realize it. What's the most effed up thing a family member of yours has done? My dad's a consummate prankster. His crowning achievement in college has since become illegal in 2 states. Step 1. He and several buddies go to a Cadillac dealership at 5 o'clock on a Friday. This was before credit cards and automatic banking, by the way. Step 2. They wrote a check for the asking price of one of the shiny new models and drove off with it. Step 3. They sell the car at a used Cadillac dealership across town. Step 4. The used dealer calls the new dealer and tells him that the car was sold with the dealer plates still on, and the price tag still in the window. Step 5. New dealer figures that the check the kids wrote is going to bounce, so he calls the cops. Step 6. My dad and his friends spend the weekend in jail. Step 7. The bank's open Monday morning, the check doesn't bounce. Step 8. My dad and his friends sue the dealers in the state for wrongful imprisonment, and get a settlement of thousands of dollars more than the cost of the car. Basically, the plan was to seem as shady as possible and get wrongfully arrested for it. They had the lawyer set up before they bought the car. Dad used his share to pay for his and another friend's tuition for the year. I'm planning on leaving my fiancée at the altar. I really tried to fix the relationship. I don't know what I did wrong for him to cheat multiple times, but I'm just tired of being pressured to stay with him, to do things I don't want to do with him just so he'll stop complaining. I'm tired of my family pressuring me to get married, to have a traditional wedding, to wear this, invite this person, always breathing down my neck. I'm tired of being embarrassed for doing something they deem wrong. So after this I'm just moving somewhere else and changing my number, and if they file a missing persons, they can keep searching. I don't care anymore. Hopefully they can all F off. I'm done. What's the dumbest thing you believed as a kid? That babies are pooped out. When I was like 7 I was listening to my aunt as she explained that childbirth was pretty intense and painful for her, and I was all solemnly like, yeah, sometimes just my poops are painful. I don't think I could get a baby out, and she went what? And her reaction made me realize real quick that I had effed up somewhere, and I tried to change the subject while my mind was just reeling lol. It finally happened. This is my first post ever. Please forgive me for any mistakes I make. I'm truly sorry. But after 2 years of trying, I'm finally pregnant. Now I'm losing my mind, and my husband will be home in an hour, and I have a Dollar Tree party hat on, chasing around the cats trying to put a bow on them because I have no idea what to do. I'm so excited I could scream. Edit, I told him. He's a very quiet person, but that smile and all those hugs, I felt like the sun was rising. He seriously is the best husband. What job do you have no respect for? I once interviewed at a debt collector because I was bored and curious, wasn't interested in the job. Made it past all the pre-checks and had interview role-play session with a collector trainer guy. Holy F. In one example, the right answer to collecting on old resold unsecured credit card debt was essentially try to find assets of a rather poor person, and, in this case, try to convince them to sell their free and clear owned truck to settle it at 100% of the debt's face value, which is about the worst personal decision a person could make. Never talk to these people. On the flip side, an ex's uncle was a retired-ish lawyer that took on collection agencies for fun, recorded the calls and coached people on things to say to set them up to do stupid things. One I remember was a collector that actually threatened to kill someone's dog, WTF? Then took all the money he could from them for the legal etc. violations, most going to the client. He loved it. What life advice can just F off? Do what you love and money will follow. I love walking my dogs and grilling food for my friends, but that shit doesn't pay the bills as well as my engineering degree. People who are not scared of death. Why? I was very sick as a child. Spent ages 7 to 20 in and out of hospital due to kidney issues. Lost a kidney at 28. Almost died during the surgery to remove the dead kidney due to blood loss. Had 5 surgeries back to back during the next 2 years. Twice they had difficulties bringing me out of anesthesia. Found my favorite aunt dead in her bed when I was 22. Watched my best friend die from a brain tumor at 30. Death has been a constant force in my life. Sometimes just on the edges waiting, sometimes unexpected staring me in the face. I'm not afraid because it's always been there. I now work in healthcare. Death and I are good friends. If nuclear war began in the next 10 minutes, what is your plan? My grandfather built himself an underground bomb shelter on his property as he was a true believer that the world would someday end. He prepared for any outcome, whether it was a nuclear disaster, war, or a zombie apocalypse. Yes, he was that paranoid. In the event of a zombie apocalypse, he erected a steel fence around his property for further protection from zombies and even people who he felt would threaten him for his supplies such as food, water, his guns, and even gas masks, as he believed there will be no such thing as having humanity anymore. People would turn to killing each other for whatever they had. So in the event of a nuclear war, where would I go? Probably there. What is an encounter that made you believe that other humans are quite literally experiencing a different version of reality? I watched a foreign movie with subtitles with my dad once. A few days later, we happened to have a conversation about foreign movies and TV shows, and he said he would never watch that stuff because he wants to hear English. I pointed out that he enjoyed the foreign movie we had watched the other night. He said that he didn't realize it wasn't in English. Night owls, what's the creepiest thing you heard at night? In January I was at a movie theater and got my backpack stolen. It had a spare key to my apartment in it. It also had an old credit card statement with my address. Fast forward to September and I want to watch the movie Joker. But I'm stuck at work on a Friday night and it is too late to watch, so I reluctantly go home. It is around 10 p.m., not really night owl times, and I'm watching Dateline on NBC about someone being murdered. I'm not really paying attention to it, but I can hear someone outside walking closer towards my apartment and they are dragging something heavy. Then I hear the storm door open, so now I'm confused, but I assume it must be my landlord. But what does he want at 10 p.m.? I expect a knock on the door. But I don't hear a knock. Instead I hear a key insert into the lock and the doorknob turn. Fortunately I had my landlord replace the key 2 days after my backpack was stolen. The key didn't work and I heard them quickly run away after they discovered it was the wrong key or wrong door. What's that one thing people in their 20s should definitely do before turning 30? Start doing mobility exercises and stretching. If you smoke cigarettes, quit. It's all shits and giggles when you're in your 20s, but it'll catch up to you way quicker than you think. If you quit now, your body still has time to heal much of the damage that has been done to it. Brush your damn teeth. Realize that your friend group from your early 20s will most likely look completely different by your later 20s and into your 30s, and that's okay. Other than investing, get your physical and mental health in order. Unlearn the life plan mindset. Sometimes, things change. You won't like your career that you majored in later like you do now. Or maybe you already started seeing the cons. But that's okay. Starting over isn't a bad thing. Life isn't a race. Don't compare your life to your cousin Johnny or your cousin Lily. They're already struggling with their parents' expectations. Also, if you can, move away from your parents. You'll be surprised by how much parents can influence their children's lives and their choices. If you're a guy who suspects you might go bald early because of genetics, try out some weird hairstyles. Well, if it works in your line of work. Get a faux hawk, cut some bangs like it's 70s, grow it out, braid it. You only have one head of hair, and when it's gone, it's gone. Start investing money. Add money to your retirement account. Even if it's $10, $100, $27.50. Whatever it is, sock away a bit of money. Easiest way is to put it in an index fund. A mutual fund that follows some stock index like the S&P 500. When I was 22 or so, my friend's brother-in-law got a job at an investment company and so naturally trolled all my friends' friends for customers, including myself. Just to get him to stop talking, I agreed to invest in his funds a few hundred a month. After a few years, I stopped putting money into that fund. 30 years later, I took a look at that account, which I didn't add to, but just let sit around, and it had $250,000. What is a safety tip everyone should know about? Put toilet paper in your cars. It is better to correct an unsafe friend than to bury one. The gates on a railroad crossing are meant to break away when driven through. If your car ever stalls out on a crossing, don't bother with 911, look for the blue sign posted on the crossing gates themselves and call that number. That number will get you in contact with the train dispatcher, who can let oncoming trains know about it immediately. As a lifelong Floridian, I see this all the time here, and elsewhere in the news. In the event of a disaster, stay the fuck away from downed power lines. Don't walk along the street with them, don't drive your car over them, don't take selfies with them. They're thunder noodles and have been known to kill. What's a sign you need to immediately go to the hospital? Vape, my appendix just exploded inside of me 3 days ago, and my tell was that just standing or moving at all became excruciatingly painful. So if normal activities are causing pain, especially severe pain like I was feeling, maybe consider calling 911. Sudden hearing loss. The faster you get to the hospital, the better the chances of reversing it. Statistically, in my case, I left it 2 weeks and I'm now living with tinnitus. If your pee is so dark that it looks like Guinness, go to the hospital immediately. The worst headache of your life, which came on very quickly. Also known as a thunderclap headache. Even with no other symptoms, this needs to be looked at immediately. Could be any range of things, but what they're most concerned with is a ruptured aneurysm. You took a new medicine and your throat is closing up. Anaphylaxis can kill you. Losing the ability to see color in one or more eye, sign of major issue in brain. Haven't seen this one mentioned yet. If your newborn spits up bright green, solid sign there is a major intestinal blockage, even without any other symptoms, and there is a small window to get that corrected before death. I have forgotten a lot from my stable class, but I do remember that. When my knee folded backwards was my sign. I had a headache for a week and was getting confused at work. 2 brain tumors and hydrocephalus led to immediate intake. What's a life-saving tip everyone should know? Learn how to stay calm, breathe and assess situations. This will help in so many future surprise situations. Be aware of your surroundings, exits, bathrooms and where medical/fire kits, where landline phones are if they are around. If a service dog comes up to you, follow them. Service dogs will only leave their owners as a last-ditch effort for help. If you are alone and start choking, you can use the back of a chair or sofa to perform the Heimlich maneuver on yourself. Source: had to do it to myself when I was about 15. When caught in a stampede, as soon as you get knocked down your chances decrease significantly. If this is the case, however, and you can't get up immediately, assume a protective posture with your feet tucked up and your hands covering your head. Try to position your face in the direction the crowd is moving so you don't get kicked and try to get back on your feet ASAP. If you're ever feeling lightheaded and seeing stars, and just a general feeling of thinking you're going to pass out, lay on your back and put your legs in the air and take deep breaths in and out. The blood from your brain rush down to your feet and doing this will rush it back to your head. If you get stabbed, do everything in your power to keep the knife in. The knife is acting as a makeshift seal and it's the only thing keeping you from bleeding out. Keep it in and get to a hospital immediately. Plus, if it hurts like a bitch going in, it'll hurt like a bitch going out. If you think you're being followed, turn right 4 times. Since you'll get to the same place, they shouldn't be following you anymore. If they do, you might be in trouble. Since it's a common warning that you shouldn't go home when you think someone is following you, the smartest is to go to a police station. Older people have read it. What's the best life advice you could give to a 20-year-old? Take good care of your teeth and buy a plunger before you need one. Save as much money as you can, avoid toxic relationships, and don't be content at a dead-end job. Enjoy the people closest to you and tell them you love them. You never know how long they'll be around. I'm in my 60s now, and still miss my mom and dad. Don't spend your money to impress other people. Don't spend your money to impress other people. This is the only true waste of money. It's easier to lose weight/get in shape when you start early. The longer you wait, the harder it gets. Adults don't know what they're doing. There isn't some point in your life when you go from WTF is going on to okay, I've got it all figured out. Knowing that, don't stress that you don't have it all figured out. You're not behind the curve if you're trying to find yourself or have no idea where you want to be in 5 years. Don't worry about pleasing everyone. If you do, you'll end up carrying the emotional barrage of everyone else, which can be burdensome. If you're looking for a lifetime partner, it will be the one who has your back and who is your best friend, even on bad days. What survival myth is completely wrong and can get you killed? If you're in a tornado, open all your windows to equalize the pressure inside to match the outside. If you're in a tornado, opening any window or door will create a wind tunnel that rips your entire roof off. If a shark is coming after you, swim away. If a shark is coming towards you in the first place, it's most likely just curious and wants to check you out. Swimming away and thrashing about will further intrigue it to keep following you. Instead, redirect it by running your hand along its side and carefully positioning it to swim away from you. Side note, if one happens to bite you, poke/stab it in the eyes or pull on its gills instead of bopping it in the nose. Gills and eyes are far more sensitive than a shark's nose. Follow flying birds to find water. They can simply be flying to spend a night anywhere, so we can't rely on them. If you're in a hot area, don't ration your water. Drink when you feel thirsty and search for more water. You can drink water from a cactus. Any liquid inside a cactus will be highly acidic and likely to cause nausea and diarrhea, further dehydrating you. Concerning frostbite, do not rub someone's frostbitten skin or pour hot water on it to warm them up. Such measures will damage the skin even more severely. What seems harmless but is incredibly dangerous? ER nurse. I had a teenage girl come from home economics class. She was sewing and had a pin between her lips. I mean, who hasn't done that? She sucked it in and it got lodged in her throat. While waiting for a scope she felt it dislodge and went deep into her main bronchial. She required major surgery. Had a young boy running with a toothbrush in his mouth. Got jammed way deep, almost hit a major artery, a human bite. I worked at a kindergarten and one kid was sometimes super sweet but sometimes really mean. He could switch in a second. While I was naming the coloring pages they were about to get, he walked up to me and bit me in the arm. Didn't think it was through, 'cause no blood. But it started swelling and getting red and the marks were clearly there. Went to the doc right after my shift. He explained a human bite is the second most dangerous bite there is. Got antibiotics but they didn't work. Arm just kept swelling and getting completely dark purple over 2 days. Doctor sent me to the hospital where I got strong antibiotics. Basically everything in me was cleaned with that shit, felt weak for months. If it didn't start working by that night I'd have to come back and be hospitalized to get my underarm removed. I've shat some bricks there. Never thought a kid's bite could cause this. Luckily the swelling got less and the bruise stopped spreading so I still have my arm, but that was very close. Having a small snack before a medical procedure that requires anesthesia. Intubation can cause you to throw up your food and you can choke. Oceanside cliff blowholes. People think they're so much fun to stand around and play with. You fall into one of those things, you aren't getting out. The waves will just bludgeon you against the rocks until you die or you're lucky enough to drown first. Pool covers. It's like being wrapped in a bedsheet underwater. You cannot get free and you cannot scream for help. Once you're in, the only way to get out is to be incredibly lucky and get free or have faith that someone saw or heard you fall in and hope that they get you in time. It's a lengthy, terrifying death that's completely avoidable. Having a loose animal in the car. A safety instructor once told me doctors had to dig dog bones out of a person after it got between them and an airbag. Same with unrestrained people. They become projectiles. Story of a car full of adults. No seatbelts. With a child/baby properly strapped in the back seat. Got into a major accident. Baby was killed due to the unrestrained adult being tossed around in the car, therefore crushing and impacting the baby. Might have been an older driver's ed scare tactic story, but it seems feasible. What's that one thing people in their 20s should definitely do before turning 30? Start doing mobility exercises and stretching. If you smoke cigarettes, quit. It's all shits and giggles when you're in your 20s, but it'll catch up to you way quicker than you think. If you quit now, your body still has time to heal much of the damage that has been done to it. Brush your damn teeth. Realize that your friend group from your early 20s will most likely look completely different by your later 20s and into your 30s, and that's okay. Other than investing, get your physical and mental health in order. Unlearn the life plan mindset. Sometimes, things change. You won't like your career that you majored in later like you do now. Or maybe you already started seeing the cons. But that's okay. Starting over isn't a bad thing. Life isn't a race. Don't compare your life to your cousin Johnny or your cousin Lily. They're already struggling with their parents' expectations. Also, if you can, move away from your parents. You'll be surprised by how much parents can influence their children's lives and their choices. If you're a guy who suspects you might go bald early because of genetics, try out some weird hairstyles. Well, if it works in your line of work. Get a faux hawk, cut some bangs like it's 70s, grow it out, braid it. You only have one head of hair, and when it's gone, it's gone. Start investing money. Add money to your retirement account. Even if it's $10, $100, $27.50. Whatever it is, sock away a bit of money. Easiest way is to put it in an index fund. A mutual fund that follows some stock index like the S&P 500. When I was 22 or so, my friend's brother-in-law got a job at an investment company and so naturally trolled all my friends' friends for customers, including myself. Just to get him to stop talking, I agreed to invest in his funds a few hundred a month. After a few years, I stopped putting money into that fund. 30 years later, I took a look at that account, which I didn't add to, but just let sit around, and it had $250,000 in it, which I can't touch until retirement or else in current tax event. What travel tips do only the pros know? No one cares about you wearing the same thing more than once. Pack light and wash your stuff every few days. Do not entertain people asking questions in other countries. Know the rules/laws/currency exchange rates for the country you are going to. Ignorance is not a get-out-of-jail-free card. My tip is to download the map of the towns you are visiting. You can do that easily in the Google Maps app. If you have the map downloaded on your phone, you can easily find your way around town even if you don't have any internet connection. It won't show you the route you should walk from A to B, but through the magic of GPS you will still see where you currently are and if you are moving in the right direction. Give yourself breaks when traveling. A lot of people try to pack everything in and all it causes is stress. If you are traveling in a group, give yourself breaks from others. Some people want to do everything together, and that can lead to a lot of fighting. Roll your clothes, don't fold them. Never keep your wallet on your back pocket. Clean, or at least leave your home in some state of clean prior to leaving on your trip. It feels terrible to come home to a mess when you're likely exhausted from a plane or long road trip. Especially if you have to work the next day. If you're going on vacation and can swing one more day of time off, take it after you arrive home and give yourself an extra day to mentally prepare and get organized. Women of Reddit, what do men do that confuses you? That they can have friends they've known them for years but not have picked up more than basic information about them. Trying to impress women by doing things that would only impress other men. Refusing to go to the doctor. Intentionally hurt themselves or put themselves in situations there's a high likelihood of getting hurt. For example, staring down a lit bottle rocket launcher. Taking turns whacking each other in the nads. Touching an electric fence just to see how bad it is. Etc. Basically anything on r/why women live longer. I feel like all the men in my life always feel like shit and take like 3 to 4 poops a day. They always have the shits. My dad. Me ex. My current partner. My dude friends. What is wrong with you all guts? I never understood the fascination some men have with driving loud cars. No offense to people who like loud cars, but I find them a bit annoying, especially when I am trying to sleep or trying to talk to someone when a loud car goes by. Catcalling and name calling. Also the whole treat them mean keep them keen thing. I just don't get it.